you can see in front of us here with the buffalo, there's a hot spring bubbling up from inside those flowers. It's so beautiful. Um, so let me tell you a little bit about Lewis and his surgical skills during the winter with the Mandan. He had some surgical experience in Philadelphia prior to this. On January 11th, the Mandan crossed the river. You can film me too. Crossed the river and approached Lewis and Clark with a small boy his toes were frostbitten, and he was going to die. And so Lewis and Clark did what they usually did in this situation, because this happened to the men quite often. It happened to several of the men that winter, and they would just take their feet and soak them in very cold water, and that always took care of it for the men. They tried that with the boy, and it didn't work. And so in Clark's journals, he mentions that Lewis sawed off his toes on his one foot. And if you look at what they brought in the medical kit, they did not bring a surgical saw. And so presumably then it was just the other saws that they had with them that they used to hack off his toes. And then 4 days later, the other foot had to go too, and they sawed off his toes there as well. A few days later, I got dates here. It was January 26th. One of the men came down with what they called at that time pleurisy. Could have been like a pneumonia or something in the chest. The way Clark treated it, or the way Lewis treated it, it's amazing the guy even survived. So they bled him, which is what you did at that time. Got a lot of his blood out, and then they gave him a bunch of Rush's pills, which contained mercury, right? And that, a little nervous, the buffalo there, and that didn't work. And so the next day they bled him again. They put him in a sweat lodge to sweat it all out. They put grease on his chest, and eventually the guy got better. And so I don't know if it was because of what Lewis was doing or not. But the biggest sort of medical event that winter was on February 11th, and that's the day that Sacagawea gave birth to her son. Lewis was present for the birth, and he assisted. He had never done this before, but who's a Drouillard, I think, the French guy, said that a good way to help her through labor, because she was having a tough labor, is by taking rattlesnake rattles and crushing them up in water and having her drink them. And she was having a horrible labor, and so he did that. He crushed up a bunch of rattlesnake rattles, put them in water, she drank it, and 2 minutes later, the baby came out. And so whether it was from the rattlesnake or not, I don't know, but she gave birth to Jean-Baptiste Charbonneau, who William Clark, throughout the journey, got really close to the kid, got to know him well, as the baby at the time, and later in his life he will raise him. And so he called him Pomp, or Pompey.